Hi everyone, and welcome to my next video for Nier on the PlayStation 3. In this video I finish up with the first half of the game, and here is where you meet up with Grimoire Noir. And I have to say something about that character, or that object. I don't like his voice at all. I think it's not cast well, and I've seen lots of criticism online for Emil's voice actor. And I think Emil's voice actor is fine. I don't know what the problem is. He sounds like a child who's been sheltered, abused, taken advantage of by science. And I think it's his stuff is good. But Grimoire Noir, his voice is just it just sounds like a complete mismatch, and is not menacing at all, and is totally eclipsed by the quality of Grimoire Weiss. And so that was a pretty major disappointment to me, in that the voice actor for Grimoire Noir was so poorly cast. And that's my opinion, and maybe he gets better later. But yeah, I was not impressed. So that takes a little bit away from this scene, but the bulk of it, and the core message here of Weiss basically rejecting, his fate and staying with your party, is a good one. And so that right there is effective in the storytelling. So thankfully, this new shade, or whoever, and Grimoire Noir don't hang around for too long, and so you fight him here, and as you saw, they take your magic away, and this is you just gaining all your magic powers back and defeating them, and moving on to the second half of the game. And so that shade that came in, that looks very much like Nier, he will end up taking Yona from you, and that ends up being the impetus for you to do what you're doing in the second half of the game. And this right here was a bit shocking. I thought, okay, well, he already got impaled in the earlier in this scene, and now he gets impaled once again, this time through his torso, which I was expecting him to die and there'd be some magic or something that brings him back, but I guess he's just injured. There he is. He's crawling, and somehow he's alive. I don't know. And something else happens later, which we'll get to. I don't know if it's going to be in this video, but something else happens to Kaine later, very similar, and she somehow lives through that. So kind of funny. So another thing I did want to talk about is Nier's graphics. When I first started playing this game, I wasn't very impressed. I saw it as just really gray and muted, and I wasn't all that impressed with the animation or character design in general. But it's really grown on me, and I credit the story for perhaps making what we're seeing here carry more weight and have more meaning. But when I stop and look at the characters carefully, they're done pretty well, and they have design aspects that make them memorable, not just from a story perspective, but visually as well. Emil's blindfold and his sort of like Beethoven or Bach like clothing, or Kaine's hair. Obviously her outfit is interesting, but it's a neat design. And same with Nier. He's something I mentioned earlier several videos ago is he's been called the ugliest video game character of all time. And I kind of wanted to comment on that a little bit. I don't know if people say that who haven't played the game, or maybe they have, but it's hard to call him ugly if you've played the game, because his character is just so good. He's you understand what he's all about, and he's, like I said in the last video, he is rough around the edges and pretty violent and reactionary, but he has a big heart and is doing everything for his daughter. So I think that makes him a very attractive character, much like the others throughout this game. So yeah, I just wanted to comment on that, because I don't think it's a fair assessment just to say he's ugly based on his character design. I think he's a great character, one of the best characters I've experienced in a Japanese action RPG in years, I would say. So this scene is pivotal, and I left it here in its entirety, where Kaine is basically petrified by Emil's Medusa-like stare, and it's sad, but beautiful at the same time. And that reminds me very much of, I don't know, there's a scene in Dragon Quest V where the protagonist is turned to stone and a lot of time passes. It's a little more extensive than what happens here, but that's what it reminded me of, and I think it's done to better effect here. As an aside, I love Dragon Quest V. It's one of my favorite RPGs of all time. And in fact, I should probably play it again. But yeah, things like that, the scene we just saw, remind me of that game. So I like those. I like things in games that remind me of other games and things of that nature. Just like movies or TV or any media. So here, time has passed. I can't remember if it did say 5 years later, but all this time has passed, and here comes Nier with a slightly new outfit, and he is now able to use several different types of new weapons, including two-handed swords and spears. I haven't used any of the spears yet, but I have messed around with the two-handed swords. I think I have 3 or 4 of them at this point, and they're pretty cool. I'm sure it's a personal preference thing, but just the amount of damage they deal out, and I mean, Nier is so encumbered by it, he barely can move swinging it around, but man, I pity anything that's in the path of his swings. So they're pretty nice, and they do work they work really well in certain situations, especially close quarter combat, where you may be surrounded by 10 or 15 different shades. Pulling out a two-handed sword and whipping that thing around is pretty satisfying to watch, and it's probably a good way to build up combos and just clear out areas quickly. I found that I don't really get hit a whole lot using them, so I think they're pretty good. But I also like the one-handed swords too, just for their speed and how agile Nier is with it. And so here, Nier's talking about how he's basically just, his life is all about trying to find Yona and I think the Shadow Lord. So that's his life. And again, he is a pretty simple guy, driven by very distinct, clear, tangible things. And so, again, I think that makes him very or easily relatable to for players. He's not an angsty teen or someone who just turns away from people when they talk to him or want to get close. I can't stand that. Sometimes it works, but most of the time I appreciate honest characters straightforward characters who are clear about what they want, versus wishy-washy protagonists. I just don't like that. So that's why this has been a great game. And so here, kind of after the intro there about you getting a letter from Emil from the mansion saying he has new information about what might be able to free Kaine from her petrification, I went ahead and completed several other side quests. So I got my black bass. And the other thing, once you start this second half of the game, is there are a whole bunch of new side quests that are available. And so that's pretty cool. I think there's something like 100 or so side quests in the game. I think I might have only done or did around 40 from the first half. As I mentioned in the last video, if you don't complete most of them before the middle game break, you can't finish them. So that sucks, but it's okay. I think I'm most upset that I'm going to miss out on the dialogue that occurs during the quests. I think that's some of the best stuff in the game. Apart from the main storyline, is doing these quests and learning about the inhabitants of the world, and usually humorously seeing how Nier reacts. He usually wants to punch people or strangle them or whatever. So it's pretty funny, and I like that about this game. So here I'm just kind of going around and taking care of the quest for one of the merchants. You can also get more quests from Devila here. And I have to say that the song she plays, beautiful stuff. So again, the music in this game, just stunning, and I will have to buy the soundtrack whenever I can remember to actually do so. Probably after Christmas. I'm a bit tapped out from all the shopping and good game deals. So finishing up all these quests. Yeah. So as an aside, I did receive a message saying, "Hey, what'd you get for Black Friday this year?" And I didn't really get much. I got some online deals. I think I picked up Valiant Hearts on the PC for like $6, and several bundles that were available. I also picked up, and this wasn't so much a Black Friday deal, but I did pick up the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection for PlayStation 3. I had no idea something like that had even come out, and it's become kind of hard to find. I don't know why. It's not in stores that I've been able to find. And on Amazon, a new one is like $75. So I went on eBay and found it for about $50, which not the greatest deal, but for it being brand new, I figured, I'll give it a shot. Metal Gear Solid is a series I've only played the first and second ones, and the second one kind of turned me off just because it was so codec and story heavy in its second half. Just felt like I wasn't really playing a game, and I wasn't that big a fan of Raiden's character in it. And then when Metal Gear Solid 3 came out, it was a pretty big departure, and for some reason I just didn't really play it. I played a little bit at my cousin's house, but didn't play much of it on my own. And I did buy Metal Gear Solid 4 for PlayStation 3 when it came out. I think I have the limited edition in a box somewhere. But again, with that one, I tried to play it. I turned it on. I had to do a system update on my PlayStation 3. Then it had to install, which took like an hour. And then it had to do, I think it downloaded a big update. And at the time, we're on a pretty slow internet connection, and so it took a long time. So by the time I actually started the game, it was almost 2 hours later. And then the intro for Metal Gear Solid 4 is very long, so it seemed like it was 3 hours before I actually was able to start controlling Snake. So I played it a little bit and just kind of lost interest. I think I played Uncharted 1 instead. But yeah, it's a series that I have always told myself I wanted to go back to, and I'll probably start again from the beginning. It does come with a download code for the original Metal Gear Solid for PlayStation 1, which is one of my all-time favorite games, so I'm looking forward to revisiting it. It's probably going to be really rough, really ugly, but I think it'll bring back some really good memories. And other stuff I got was Diablo 3 for the PlayStation 3. I think I got that for about $15. It's the latest one. And what was the other one? Theatrhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call for 3DS. And that was $20 instead of $40. So yeah, those were my only Black Friday purchases. I've been kind of rounding out my Wii U library as well. With I picked up Nintendo Land for basically free. It's a game that I criticized quite a bit when I saw it at E3 when Reggie was talking about it. And that was Nintendo's big push. I think that was E3 2012 maybe. Oh, I was so upset that was what they were trying to say was going to be the Wii U's premier piece of software. But time can heal wounds. And so I ended up picking it up because I've heard it has some pretty good single player content. I'm not a multiplayer person, but I've heard that there is some good stuff in it. So, for basically free, I'll check it out. And of course, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker just came out for the Wii U as well. And so I'll be playing that over the holidays, as well as Smash Brothers. So just a lot of stuff, and probably too much to play. I feel like I'm a collector more than a player sometimes, but it's fun. I like the anticipation of receiving games and tearing the shrink wrap off and seeing what's inside. So I'm kind of old school in that way. I haven't been converted to full digital downloads. I do on PC. I love digital on PC only because it's such an open platform and it leads to a lot of really good deals. And who doesn't like a good deal? But when it comes to consoles, I like the real deal, the real item. So yeah. So some of my friends and I were talking about that on Facebook yesterday. That there are some companies that will put physical game cases out on shelves, and then you open up the box and there's nothing inside but a piece of paper that has a download code. And I think that's crap. If you're going to do that, be honest. Just put it on a card or make it digital only, where you can just buy it from your console or PC. Don't be sneaky like that, because you're going to upset people who like physical items. So I definitely agree with my friend that he should be mad about that. And I think it was one of the Tomb Raider titles for PlayStation 4. And so I know I won't be buying it that way. So here, sorry, that was such a major tangent from this video. But so here, I finally get through all those side quests you saw, and this is back to the mainline story. And so you go back to the Emil's mansion, and you find this information that will lead you to this basement area. And this is sort of what I like to call the Final Fantasy VII or even Akira part of the story. The look of it, the color palette, the camera angle, and everything totally reminds me of Final Fantasy VII. Just the greens and browns and blues. It reminds me of the opening of Final Fantasy VII, the kind of the Shinra infiltration. But the actual story where you're uncovering bits and pieces about Emil's past, it reminded me of Akira, like the numbered children and how they were these experiments very similar, and this is pretty tragic stuff. So you slowly learn that oh gosh, what's her name? I think it was like Julia or something. Anyway, is basically Emil's sister. I don't know if it's sister by blood or just that they are like siblings. Yeah, this room right here, it's very much like Akira, the little indoor playground from that manga and comic, or manga and anime. So it's yeah, I like it. It definitely took me back to the Halua. I guess I was right. If that's what I said, I don't even remember what I said. So yeah, you're getting deeper and deeper, and you find out that Emil was basically raised and almost engineered to be a weapon. And I like it. When Emil is kind of getting into these fits of despair, Nier basically says, "Don't worry about it. To us, you're Emil, and we'll support you, and we'll always support you." And so that right there, that there's a few scenes coming up that kind of hate to admit it, but it almost brought me to tears. There's a really wonderful scene coming up after this fight, and then shortly thereafter, where you revisit Kaine in the library in your home village. So really good stuff. It's been, I'd say, the highlight of Nier's story so far, and I'm guessing it's just going to keep getting better. So yeah, just I can't say enough good things about this game. So this scene right here, that's Halua, your sister. So there's some flashback story bits here, and I don't know if they explain it, or they might explain it later, why she looks the way she does. But I guess it doesn't really matter, because something happens after this fight that is really, really touching. So yeah, they turn her into that, which is sort of this almost like Jack Skellington, almost like the mascot from Atlas. It's kind of funny, but sort of gruesome. She's nailed and chained to the wall, and Emil basically says that once this fight begins, as he's absorbed with his sister, don't be afraid to kill him. So that's, again, there's added weight to these battles versus you just fighting some random boss that appears out of nowhere. These fights become very personal. Yeah, so like I said, it reminds me very much of Akira, this whole story segment here. And yeah, Akira is great. If you haven't, I know a lot of people have seen the anime, but the manga is exceptional. Otomo's artwork is just mind blowing. His character art, you can argue that it's a little rough, and not a lot of people like it. I remember in a interview from the late 80s when the movie was coming out, he said something that he'd been criticized for drawing unattractive girls. So but I think he draws humans quite realistically, which is good. But his architecture and technology artwork is just insane. It's so good. Kind of like Masamune Shirow, who did Appleseed and Ghost in the Shell. I think he's more well known for his mech and character art, but he's a fantastic architectural artist as well. Lots of detail and really good stuff. Makes me want to read Appleseed again. And so here, I cut most of this battle out. I believe you just have to use magic-based attacks, and it's not really that hard. He'll climb up on the walls, fire at you, and then he'll do these ram attacks on the ground. So just, you gotta whittle him down with magic. I don't think your sword attacks do anything to him. I could be wrong though. So eventually you'll take him out, and yeah, this will lead to the, I guess, fusion scene. But this is kind of sad. You know, she's being nailed to the wall, and you do a final attack, and you're like, wow, am I going to kill both she and her brother? It cuts to this scene of the two of them there. And again, I left this all in here just because it's one of my favorite sequences in the game. This and the next one. So here they kind of become one. They join and become a single character. And so this explained to me why Halua, or now Emil, is in some of the promotional art. And I had always thought, wow, that's a strange looking character. And I wrongly assumed that it was just going to be some kind of silly mascot that follows you around, as is so common in many RPGs or even animated movies. You know, you always have to have this silly sidekick. And I thought that's what it might have been, but it so isn't. Emil right here, a few things happen that just make him one of my favorite characters in the game now. In a cast of favorites, I think each character, you know, Nier, Grimoire Weiss, Kaine, and now Emil, are super memorable, have very real personalities, and yeah, you just want to see good things happen to them. And so here he comes back, and he's in his kind of a blend of him as he was, and with elements from, you know, Halua. So it's good, and you know, this could have easily turned to crap, and could have been really silly and done poorly, and you would have been like, oh gosh, why are they doing this? But it works. It works really well. They spend almost no time on his physical look, and it's all about accepting him as he is, and I think that's a really good message. And the other good side effect is now he can see. He can take his blindfold off and look at people without turning them to stone. And so I think that subtext of this game, the I guess the outcasts of the world banding together and forming real relationships is key to its success. And I think that's something that any person who, you know, isn't part of a popular crowd or anything like that can relate to. I know I can. You know, I've always been sort of an introvert at heart, and was never part of the cool kids crowd. So a lot of the themes in this game really hit home. So again, something I very much appreciate with Nier. This scene right here is kind of what we've been building up to for this entire video. And you know, now that Emil has the power to reverse his petrification curse, he can now sort of unfreeze Kaine. And so this is the payoff for what you've been doing. And you know, when this was happening, I'm like, well, so are they gonna keep the continuity there and have the monster from the basement come back out. And yeah, sure enough, they do. And so here it comes. And this is great because it comes out, and he was a lot more difficult when you fought him the first time. But since 5 years have passed, and Nier's gotten a lot stronger, with more abilities and a lot more anger, he's able to dispatch him pretty easily. So just like before, you have to attack the tentacles and then finally do some finishing moves on the head. So I'll kind of skip through it and jump right to the end here. And I believe you do the same magic to take care of him. Except instead of punching him in the head, you basically just snap his neck. But yeah, the stuff coming up, I think, this scene coming up is the one that really got me. Because so Kaine wakes up, and the first thing she sees is Emil. And I think any lesser game or any other game that had less mature writing and less mature themes would have had her kind of reel back in disgust and say, "Oh, what the F are you?" or da-da-da. But they don't. She comes out of it, looks right at him, and says, smiles, and acknowledges him as Emil, as the person he was before. And I love that. I think that's that speaks to Kaine, her character, so loudly. And just like the scene before, where Emil and Nier, or Nier accepts him the way he is, she does the same. And so it kind of gives me chills watching this again. It's so good. So I'm getting very spoiled by Nier's storyline, and it kind of makes me sad that there isn't a sequel. I wish there was, or even I'll have to see if there are other games that compare to this in terms of story and character maturity and development. Is just done so well, and I'm having a great time. So I'm looking forward to what happens next in the story. And thanks for hanging out once again for about half an hour, and I will see you in the next video.